What's up, everyone? It's Rashad Buie, back again for another episode of Ballin' with Buie, where I cover the hottest topics in sports, especially if it is OU related. Today we want to talk about 23 Oklahoma State going to Allen Fieldhouse, take on Kansas Jayhawks in men's college basketball. So let's dive in. First time that OSU has played in unranked Kansas since 1983, which is historic for Kansas. OSU won the first meeting during the season, 75-70. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad with Oklahoma State. They're second in the Big 12 in turnovers, averaging 15.4 per game, but they're also second in scoring with 76.8 points per game. Cade Cunningham leads the Big 12 in scoring, got 18.2 on the year. To start the game, OSU turned over the ball 3 times in the first 3 minutes. Kansas turned it over twice in the first 3 minutes. Both teams came out playing very poor, which is kind of the trend that we would see for the entirety of the game. Both teams shot about 30%-ish from the field halfway through the first half. Kansas made 8 field goals and also had 8 turnovers with 5 minutes left in the first half. Then Oklahoma State, identical. They had 7 field goals and 7 turnovers with about 5 minutes left in the first half. OSU, first half stats, shot 33% from the field, 12% from 3, and they had 12 turnovers in the first half. Kansas, 32% shooting from the field, 25% from 3, and 10 turnovers. This was probably one of the worst basketball games I've ever watched in my entire life. They weren't just shooting terribly from the field. It was terrible offense. They were just so lackluster, and they were turning the ball over just consecutively over and over. It did not look like college basketball teams out there on the floor tonight. So take what you want away from that. Cade Cunningham, potential number 1 draft pick. If he's not the number 1 draft pick, he's going to be lottery pick 100%. Just don't know where he's going to fall. But he only had 5 points in the first half with 4 turnovers. Avery Anderson for Oklahoma State and Khalid Boone had 8 points to add on to that. And for Kansas, leading scorer was Marcus Garrett. He ended up shooting 5-5 from the field with 12 points. But Kansas had the lead at half, 28-25. OSU was favored coming into this game. Kansas had lost their last game against West Virginia. OSU's coming off a big win against Texas, which they didn't play good against Texas, but they somehow pulled out the win. But they jumped into the AP poll after doing that. OSU started second half shooting 2 of 11, and they found themselves down 43-35, about 13 minutes left in the second half. And they never really crawled back in it after that. I mean, it never was too close at that point. OSU started the second half really bad, and that was kind of the end of it, the beginning of the end of it. Kansas ended up getting a 1-and-1, about 10 minutes left. OSU was just fouling. They could not keep McCormick out of the paint in the second half, which is about the main headline in the second half. He only had 2 points in the first half, and he ended up going for over 20 in the second. Kansas shot much better in the second half. OSU did not. Kind of the same story for him as the first half. Turnovers was equally bad for both teams for the second half. OSU finished with 18 total for the game. Kansas ended up having 19. They had 18, but then last couple seconds of the game, they just dribbled it out and let the shot clock expire to give them 19. But both teams, that is outrageous. 18 turnovers, 19 turnovers. Your college basketball teams, why are you turning over the ball so much? And Cade Cunningham, why are you turning the ball over so much? You're supposed to be the leader of this team. You're supposed to be a potential number 1 draft pick. And you're going to have a total of 7 turnovers in the game and shoot 7-18 from the field. He had 26 points. He got to the free throw line at a decent rate. But you shot 7-18 from the field. In the first half, you didn't even show up, which has been a trend for him. He doesn't show up in the first half, and he likes to show up in the second half. But he has not been shooting the ball well. He shot, I believe, 20-something% and 30-something% in the last 2 games. And then tonight, 7-18. That's just not good. With 7 turnovers and 4 fouls. OSU's not going to win ball games if he can't be, lights out. Because they're not a great team. Like I said, they turn the ball over way too much every game. But when they're hitting, they're hitting. Caleb Boone, he was kind of quiet tonight. He's been pretty consistent, giving them points the past couple games. But he was pretty quiet tonight. McCormick ended up finishing with 23 points and 10 rebounds. All the Kansas starters scored double digits in the game. And Kansas came out with the win, 78-66. So OSU staying in the top 25 didn't last very long. They are going to play an unranked team next game. Can't remember who it is. Might be K-State, I'm not sure, but even if they win that, you should expect to see them drop out of the top 25. So Kansas, they needed to get this win. I don't know if it's going to be enough to put them back in the top 25, but we will see. Now I want to talk about AP Top 25 because it was a historic poll. A lot of history within this poll. Let's just break it down real quick. Gonzaga stayed at 1, Baylor stayed at 2, but now Baylor, they had postponed 2 games last week. One against Oklahoma, or Oklahoma, they were supposed to play Wednesday. It got postponed, and now they've postponed 3 more games. So it's going to be 5 games that they're postponing, which will probably be canceled, not even just postponed, because they have to play in the Big 12 tourney, and that you can't play games, obviously, while the Big 12 tourney's going on. And so they're not expected to play again until February 20th. So we'll see if that happens. Number 3, AP poll, Michigan, 4 Ohio State. They got a big win against number 8 Iowa, 89-85. Villanova drops to 5 after losing to St. John's, 70-59. Illinois goes up to 6. They were 12th, went up to 6 after beating 19 Wisconsin, 75-60. I think they went up quite a bit just from some people losing also that helped them climb. Texas Tech jumps to 7 after being at 13. They beat 9 Oklahoma, 57-52. I mean, they beat a shorthanded Oklahoma. I didn't expect Tech to jump this much. I expected them to jump in front of Oklahoma just because this is the second time beating them. Even though they beat them shorthanded, they beat them twice now because they beat them the first time fully healthy. But yeah, Texas Tech jumps all the way up to 7. Houston drops to number 8 after being 5th. They lost to East Carolina, 82-73. Virginia's at 9. Missouri jumped from 18 to 10 after beating number 10 ranked Alabama, 68-65. Oklahoma, they dropped to 12, dropped 3 spots after losing to Tech, which I thought was odd. Tech was ranked number 13, Oklahoma 9. Tech beats OU. OU drops to number 12. Alabama loses to number 18, Missouri, and they only drop 1 spot. And they stay in front of Oklahoma, and Oklahoma beat them last week. So, and not even beat them, they beat them without our Oklahoma's leading scorer, leading assister, and leading rebounder in Austin Reeves. But Alabama is somehow ranked in front of Oklahoma. I don't quite understand that. Maybe because Alabama has 3 more wins, but they have the same amount of losses, so it could play a factor. Not really sure. But continue the poll. Texas drops to 13 after losing to OSU. West Virginia jumps up to 14 after beating Kansas, 91-79. Iowa drops to 15. They lost 2 games, Ohio State and Indiana last week. Tennessee drops to 16 after losing to Ole Miss. There were a lot of upsets last week if you weren't paying attention. Florida State jumps to 17, up 3 spots. Virginia Tech's at 18. Creighton at 19. USC was not ranked. They jumped to 20 after beating UCLA, 66-48. Wisconsin at 21. Loyola Chicago, not ranked, but now they are at 22. And like I said, OSU is at 23, but don't expect to see them in the poll next week. Purdue 24, and Rutgers rounds it out at 25. Kansas, first time they are unranked since 2009, which breaks a historic record of 231 straight weeks being ranked. That is insane, 231 straight weeks, and first time they are unranked since 2009. Loyola Chicago, ranked for the first time since 1985. Shout out to Loyola Chicago. Now, the top 3 winningest programs are all unranked in this AP poll, and that is unranked. The first one is, yes, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, all the Blue Bloods, not ranked. Temple, Syracuse, UCLA, also a Blue Blood, Notre Dame, St. John's, Indiana, Arizona, Utah, and Cincinnati. Top 3 winningest programs, all unranked in this AP poll. Now, jump away from the AP poll. I just want to end it by talking about women's college basketball. There was a big game. Number 1 South Carolina against number 2 UConn. Ended up going to OT. UConn came out with the dub, 63-59. If you don't know who Paige Buckers is, you need to look her up because she is a baller. UConn was up 59-60, about 50 seconds left in the OT, and kind of had a shot similar to the Kawhi Leonard shot against 76ers in the playoffs when he was against the Raptors. Top of the key, Paige gets it, shoots it, bounces, and goes in. Only difference was at the top of the key, Kawhi's was in the corner. But still, it's a crazy shot. Didn't think she was going to hit it. She scored the team's last 13 points, and she has scored 30 or more points in 3 straight games, which is the first player in UConn history, which is insane to even say because there have been an enormous amount of great college basketball players that come through UConn, and she is the first one to score 30 points straight in 3 straight games, or 30 points in 3 straight games, excuse me. But like I said, crazy week in basketball with the AP poll. OSU played terrible, and then great women's college basketball game. So that does it for this podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Ballin' with Buie. Share, subscribe, like always. Deuces.